January 14th, 2025, 3:47 a.m. A blind 7-year-old girl sits at her kitchen table, drawing a map of something 420 million miles away, something she's never seen, something most scientists don't even know exists yet. Her fingers move with surgical precision across the paper, tracing orbital paths, gravitational wells, mathematical coordinates that would take NASA's supercomputers hours to calculate. When her parents find the drawing at dawn, they call it impossible. When astronomers see it 3 days later, they call it classified. When Emma whispers the words in Russian, a language she's never learned, they stop calling it anything at all. Because the map she drew? It matches NASA's secret data on Comet 3I Atlas. Data that was never made public, data that shows something following the comet. And Emma drew 3 dates on the margins. 2 already happened. The third is 47 days away. Before we uncover what NASA is hiding, subscribe to this channel and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. You'll want to remember where you were when you heard this story. The night Emma Bennett drew the map, there was no moon. Weather reports from Portland, Oregon, recorded unusual atmospheric pressure, the kind that makes animals restless, makes dogs howl at nothing, makes mothers check on their sleeping children for reasons they can't explain. Sarah Bennett checked on Emma twice that night. Both times, her daughter was sleeping peacefully, her small chest rising and falling in the steady rhythm of childhood dreams. The third time Sarah walked down the hallway, it was because of the sound. Scratching, frantic, repetitive scratching. She pushed open Emma's door, expecting to find their cat. Instead, she found her daughter sitting upright in bed, her sightless eyes wide open, staring at nothing, or at something no one else could see. Emma's hands moved in the air, fingers tracing invisible patterns, with the intensity of someone copying something urgent, something that couldn't wait. "Emma!" Sarah's voice cracked. "Baby, what are you doing?" Emma didn't respond. Her lips moved silently, forming words without sound. Her fingers kept drawing in the empty air, over and over, the same precise movements. Sarah turned on the light. Emma didn't blink. "Michael!" Sarah's shout brought her husband running. Michael Bennett, a high school physics teacher with a rational explanation for everything, stopped cold in the doorway. Emma was climbing out of bed, moving with purpose, walking, not the cautious steps of a blind child in a dark room, but the confident stride of someone who could see exactly where she was going. She walked past her parents, through the hallway, down the stairs. Sarah and Michael followed, speechless, as their daughter navigated the house in total darkness, without a single misstep, without reaching out to feel the walls, without hesitation. In the kitchen, Emma pulled out a chair, sat down, reached across the table and grabbed a pencil from Michael's work bag, a bag she couldn't have known was there. She pulled a blank paper from the stack near the printer, and then she began to draw. Her hand moved across the page with mechanical precision. Lines, curves, angles, numbers appearing in neat rows along the margins. Her parents watched, frozen, as their blind daughter, who had never drawn anything more complex than stick figures with their help, created something that looked like a star chart, or a navigation map, or both. The scratching sound filled the kitchen, pencil on paper, over and over. Emma's breathing had changed. Quick, shallow, panicked. Her other hand gripped the edge of the table so hard her knuckles went white. "Emma, sweetheart, you're scaring us." Michael moved closer, reaching for her shoulder. The moment he touched her, Emma's mouth opened. Words poured out. Not English. Something else. Something that sounded Eastern European, guttural, urgent. She spoke in complete sentences, in a woman's voice that didn't belong to a 7-year-old girl, while her hand never stopped moving across the paper. Sarah grabbed her phone, filming. Later, she wouldn't remember making that decision. She would only remember thinking, "No one will believe this. I need proof." Emma drew for 47 minutes straight. When she finally stopped, she set the pencil down with deliberate care, folded her hands in her lap, and spoke one sentence in perfect, unaccented Russian. "On ne prishol один, и они знают." He didn't come alone, and they know. Then she collapsed forward onto the table. The drawing remained. Michael picked it up with shaking hands. He'd been teaching physics for 15 years. He recognized orbital mechanics when he saw them. This wasn't a child's drawing. This was a technical diagram. Precise, mathematical, sophisticated. Elliptical orbits marked with velocity vectors. Gravitational interaction calculations. Date stamps in multiple formats. And at the center, a trajectory labeled in Emma's handwriting, 3I Atlas. "What the hell is 3I Atlas?" Sarah whispered. Michael was already typing into his phone. His face went pale as he read the results. "It's a comet," he said slowly. "An interstellar comet. It was discovered last year and it's passing through our solar system right now, in 2025. They both looked at their daughter, unconscious on the kitchen table, and then back at the drawing. At the impossible precision of the orbital paths, at the 3 dates written in the margins, August 17th, 2024, November 3rd, 2024, March 8th, 2025. "Michael," Sarah's voice was barely audible. "How could she know about a comet? How could she draw its orbit? She's blind, she's 7, she doesn't even know what space is." Michael didn't answer. He was staring at something else on the drawing. In the corner, written in small, careful letters, was a name, Yelena Volkov, and beneath it a series of symbols that looked like they belonged in a different alphabet entirely. Emma stirred, her eyes fluttering open. She looked confused, disoriented, like someone waking from a vivid dream they couldn't quite remember. "Mama." Her voice was small, normal, 7 years old again. "Why am I in the kitchen?" Sarah scooped her daughter into her arms, holding her tight enough to hurt. Over Emma's shoulder, she met Michael's eyes. His hand was still gripping the drawing. His physics teacher brain was trying to find the rational explanation, the logical answer. But there wasn't one. Because blind children don't draw orbital mechanics. They don't speak in foreign languages they've never learned. They don't predict astronomical events with NASA-level precision. And they definitely don't channel the voices of dead Soviet astronomers. Michael took a photo of the drawing with his phone. He didn't know why. Instinct, maybe. Or the feeling that this thing, whatever it was, might not stay in their possession for long. In 47 days, he would be grateful for that decision. Outside, the moonless night pressed against the windows. Somewhere, 420 million miles away, Comet 3I Atlas continued its journey through the solar system. It had come from beyond, from the space between stars, from the dark where no sunlight reaches and no human eye has ever seen. Emma fell asleep in her mother's arms, murmuring fragments of words in a language that didn't belong to her. And in the margins of her impossible drawing, the 3rd date waited. March 8th, 2025, 47 days away. Michael Bennett didn't sleep that night. He sat at his laptop in the home office, windows reflecting his face against the darkness, diving deeper into something that should have stayed buried. 3I Atlas. The I stood for interstellar, only the 3rd object ever confirmed to have originated outside our solar system. It had been detected by the Atlas survey in Hawaii in late 2024, a faint smudge moving against the fixed stars. The scientific community had been excited. Interstellar visitors were rare. This was only the 3rd time in human history we'd had the chance to study something from beyond. But as Michael scrolled through research papers, press releases, and astronomy forums, something didn't add up. The official trajectory data for 3I Atlas showed a standard hyperbolic orbit in one side of the solar system, around the sun, out the other side. Nothing unusual, nothing worth hiding. Emma's drawing showed something different. Her map had loops, deviations, course corrections that didn't match gravitational mechanics. It showed the comet slowing down in specific regions, accelerating in others, following a path that looked almost deliberate. Michael overlaid Emma's drawing with the official NASA trajectory using astronomical software. They didn't match, not even close. Either Emma had drawn complete nonsense, Impossible, given the mathematical precision of her calculations. Or NASA was publishing false data. A high school physics teacher shouldn't have been able to reach that conclusion, but a high school physics teacher's daughter shouldn't have been able to draw classified orbital mechanics in her sleep. At 6:17 a.m., Michael made a decision that would change everything. He posted Emma's drawing to an astronomy subreddit with the caption, "My daughter drew this last night. She's blind. Can anyone explain what she's seeing?" By noon, the post had 40,000 upvotes and 2,000 comments. By 2 p.m. it had been removed by moderators. By 4 p.m., Michael's email inbox had 127 messages from people he'd never met. Most were curious. Some were skeptical. 3 were threatening, but 1 stood out. The sender was Dr. James Kovich, astrophysics professor at MIT, specializing in orbital mechanics and interstellar objects. His message was brief. "Mr. Bennett, I need to speak with you immediately. What your daughter drew is not public information. In fact, some of those trajectory calculations match internal NASA models that were classified 3 months ago. Please call me at this number. Do not share that drawing with anyone else. And whatever you do, do not delete your copy." Michael's hand shook as he dialed. Kovich answered on the first ring. "Mr. Bennett, tell me everything." Michael did. The waking, the drawing, the Russian words, the name Yelena Volkov. There was a long silence on the other end. "Did you say Yelena Volkov?" "Yes. It was written on the drawing." "Who is she?" Another pause, then, "Mr. Bennett, Yelena Volkov was a Soviet astrophysicist. She worked at the Pulkovo Observatory in Leningrad during the Cold War. In 1983, she published a paper claiming she'd detected gravitational anomalies in the Oort cloud, the region of space where comets originate. She said the anomalies suggested something massive was moving through that region, something that shouldn't be there." Michael's throat went dry. "What happened to her?" "She disappeared. 2 weeks after publishing the paper, she vanished. The Soviets claimed she defected to the West. Western intelligence said she never arrived. Her research was confiscated. Her colleagues were reassigned. And the gravitational anomalies she detected, they were in the exact region of space where 3I Atlas originated 42 years ago. Yes. So my 7-year-old daughter, who's never heard of Soviet astronomy, wrote the name of a disappeared Cold War scientist on a map that shows NASA's secret data about a comet from the same region that scientist was studying before she vanished. That's what I'm trying to understand, Mr. Bennett." Michael looked at the drawing again. At the dates, August 17, 2024, November 3, 2024. "Dr. Kovich," he said slowly, "Emma drew 3 dates on this map. What happened on August 17th and November 3rd last year?" He heard typing on the other end, then a sharp intake of breath. "On August 17th, 2024, NASA lost contact with the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter for 6 hours. It came back online with no explanation. On November 3rd, the James Webb Space Telescope experienced a software anomaly that shut down its guidance systems. Again, no official explanation. And March 8th? March 8th is when 3I Atlas makes its closest approach to Earth. The house was too quiet. Michael could hear his own heartbeat. "There's something else," Kovich said. "The symbols your daughter drew, the ones that look like a different alphabet. I sent them to a colleague who specializes in extinct languages. He says they're not just Russian. They're Old Church Slavonic mixed with astronomical notation from 15th century Islamic astronomy. Calculations that shouldn't exist together. Mathematical concepts that weren't unified until the modern era. And that's impossible." "Yes, like a blind 7-year-old drawing classified NASA orbital data in her sleep." Emma appeared in the doorway. She was holding her stuffed rabbit, looking small and tired. "Daddy, I had another dream." Michael covered the phone. "What kind of dream, sweetie?" "The lady was in my room again, the one who sounds sad. She says the sky is full of watchers now. She says they came back because we called them. Emma tilted her head, the way she did when she was listening to something no one else could hear. She says the third date is when they answer. Michael's blood turned to ice. Emma, what lady? What are you talking about? But Emma had already turned around, walking back to her room, murmuring words in Russian that Michael couldn't understand. He put the phone back to his ear. Dr. Kovich, I think we need to meet in person. I'm already booking a flight to Portland. I'll be there tomorrow. In the meantime, Mr. Bennett, watch your daughter carefully, and if she draws anything else, photograph it immediately. Why? Because 42 years ago, Yelena Volkov sent one final message before she disappeared. It was intercepted by Western intelligence, but dismissed as paranoid rambling. She claimed that something was coming from the Oort cloud, something that had been there before, long ago, and was returning. She said it communicated through dreams first, that it chose people with the right kind of mind, and that when it arrived, it would remember who had called to it last time. What does that mean? I don't know, but your daughter drew a map showing 3I Atlas isn't following normal orbital mechanics. She's channeling a scientist who disappeared after detecting anomalies in the exact region that comet came from. And she's speaking in dead languages about watchers in the sky and something answering on March 8th. Kovich's voice dropped to barely a whisper. Mr. Bennett, NASA isn't hiding that orbital data to protect proprietary research. They're hiding it because if people knew what that comet is really doing, the way it's moving, the way it's changing course, the way it seems to be scanning every major satellite system as it passes, there would be mass panic. You think it's not a comet? I think your daughter knows what it is, or something inside her does, something that remembers 1983, something that's been waiting 42 years for 3I Atlas to come back. Dr. James Kovich arrived in Portland 36 hours later. He brought specialized equipment, cameras, audio recorders, and a modified EEG device designed to monitor brain activity during sleep. He also brought something else, a folder containing documents that were never supposed to leave MIT. Sarah Bennett watched from the kitchen doorway as her husband and this stranger set up monitoring equipment in Emma's room. Her daughter sat on the bed, patient and calm, allowing electrodes to be placed on her temples without complaint. Mrs. Bennett, Kovich said gently, I know this is frightening, but whatever is happening to Emma, it's happened before. If we can understand the pattern, maybe we can help her. Help her what? Stop channeling dead Russian scientists? Stop drawing maps of things 420 million miles away? Sarah's voice broke. She's 7 years old. She should be worried about homework and playdates, not whatever this is. Kovich opened his folder. Inside were yellowed papers, photocopies of documents with Cyrillic text, and several astronomical photographs. This is Yelena Volkov. He showed them a faded photograph of a woman in her 30s standing in front of an observatory dome. She had dark hair, sharp eyes, and a serious expression. She was brilliant. Published 12 papers before age 25, and in 1983 she detected something that ended her career. He spread out more documents, astronomical charts, spectrographic data, pages of calculations. The official story is that she detected gravitational waves, nothing unusual. But these documents tell a different story. He pointed to a series of measurements. She detected gravitational variations that didn't match any known celestial mechanics, patterns that repeated every 28 hours, patterns that suggested something massive was moving through the Oort cloud, crossing and recrossing the same region of space, like it was searching for something, Michael said quietly, or mapping something. Yelena became obsessed. She started working 18-hour days, barely eating, barely sleeping. Her colleagues said she was having dreams, vivid dreams about the Watchers returning. She claimed something was communicating with her through the gravitational data, that the patterns were a language. Sarah felt sick. That sounds like what's happening to Emma. Yes. Kovich pulled out another document. This one was in English, stamped with CIA letterhead from 1983. 2 weeks before Yelena disappeared, She sent a telegram to the International Astronomical Union. Western intelligence intercepted it. They thought it was code, but I don't think it was. He slid the paper across the table. The telegram read, "Gravitational anomaly, confirmed returning to inner system. Stop trajectory, suggests intentional approach. Stop it remembers 1952. Stop it remembers who called. Stop, we must warn them. Stop, they are watching. Stop, they are always watching. Stop, Volkov, 1952, Michael whispered. The year the Washington, D.C. UFO incident occurred. July 1952. Multiple unidentified objects tracked on radar over the White House for consecutive weekends. Air Force scrambled fighters. Nothing was ever explained. Kovich met their eyes. Yelena believed that event was a response to something, that we had called out to something in 1952 and it had answered, and that it was coming back. Emma's voice drifted from her bedroom, singing softly in Russian, not a children's song, something old, something that sounded like a lullaby from another century. 42 years later, Sarah said slowly, a comet appears from the Oort cloud, following a strange path. And my daughter starts channeling the woman who predicted it. Not just channeling, Kovich said. Your daughter drew specific dates when satellites failed. Mrs. Bennett, NASA has been tracking 3I Atlas since December. They know it's not following normal mechanics. They know it's adjusting its trajectory, and they know that every time it makes a course correction, something in our satellite network fails. August 17th, Mars Orbiter. November 3rd, James Webb. Both dates gone dark for hours. And March 8th? Michael's voice was hollow. March 8th is when 3I Atlas passes closest to Earth, 0.8 AU, close enough for detailed observation with amateur telescopes, close enough that every astronomer on Earth will be watching, and close enough for it to watch back, Sarah whispered. A knock at the door made them all jump. Michael went to answer it. 2 men stood on the porch, dark suits, government ID badges, federal agents maybe, or something that looked like them. Mr. Bennett, I'm Agent Marsh and this is Agent Chen. We're consultants for NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office. We understand your daughter created some interesting artwork recently. Michael's hand tightened on the doorframe. How did you know about that? Your Reddit post. Before it was taken down, several of our analysts saw it. We'd like to ask you some questions about how your daughter acquired that information. She didn't acquire anything. She's 7. She's blind. She drew it in her sleep. Agent Marsh smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Mr. Bennett, the orbital calculations in that drawing are classified. We need to understand the source. The source is my daughter's nightmare. Now get off my porch. Sir, this is a matter of national security. We can do this voluntarily or what? You'll arrest a blind 7-year-old for drawing a picture. Michael's voice rose. Get off my porch. The agents exchanged glances. Agent Chen spoke for the first time. Mr. Bennett, we're trying to help. If your daughter is experiencing unauthorized exposure to classified data, there are protocols, medical evaluations, security screenings. You want to take my daughter. We want to understand what's happening to her. No, Sarah appeared behind Michael. You want to understand how she knows things she shouldn't. You want to find out if someone gave her that information. Well, here's your answer. Nobody gave her anything. Something is using her. Something that's been out there for 42 years waiting, and you're not taking her anywhere. Agent Marsh's expression hardened. Mrs. Bennett, interfering with a federal investigation. Is that what this is? An investigation? Dr. Kovich stepped into view. Because I'm Dr. James Kovich, MIT Astrophysics, and I'm here as this family's consultant. Any further contact with this family goes through me and their attorney. Are we clear? The agent stared at him for a long moment. We'll be in touch, Marsh said finally. Then they turned and walked back to their black sedan. Michael closed the door, hands shaking. They took the drawing, Sarah said. I went to check on it. The original. It's gone from the kitchen. How? They were in the house. Somehow, while we were all in Emma's room. Kovich pulled out his phone. Do you still have the photographs? Yes, cloud backup. Download them to a physical drive, now, then delete them from the cloud. They'll come back. With warrants, probably. We need copies they can't confiscate. As Michael rushed to his computer, Emma appeared in the hallway. The electrodes were still attached to her temples, wires trailing behind her like mechanical hair. "She's crying again," Emma said softly. "Who's crying, sweetheart?" Sarah knelt beside her. "Yelena. She says they took her papers too. She says they always take the papers, but they can't take what's in here." Emma touched her own head. "She says that's why she came to me, because I can't forget what I've never seen." "Emma, is Yelena, is she inside you?" "No, Mama, she's beside me. She's always beside me now. She says she's been beside lots of people, but they couldn't hear her because they were too loud inside. But I'm quiet inside, because I don't see things that distract me. So I can hear her very clearly." Emma tilted her head, listening to something only she could hear. "She says the Watchers are almost here. She says on March 8th everyone will see them, not just people like me, everyone, and then they'll have to decide. Decide what? If we're ready to remember, or if we need to forget again, like last time." The days collapsed into each other. February became March. The world continued spinning, unaware that a blind child in Portland was counting down to something the rest of humanity couldn't see coming. Emma's episodes intensified. She would wake at 3:47 a.m. exactly, always the same time, and speak for hours in languages she'd never learned. Russian, Arabic, something Kovich identified as medieval Latin. Once, frighteningly, in a language that sounded like no human speech at all, clicks and tonal shifts that made Sarah's ears hurt. Kovich moved into their guest room. He recorded everything. Emma's brain activity during the episodes showed patterns that shouldn't exist, synchronized neural firing across regions that don't normally communicate. Her visual cortex lit up during the episodes, despite her blindness, as if she was seeing something or being shown something. Michael stopped going to work. He spent 18 hours a day researching Yelena Volkov, 1952, gravitational anomalies, everything he could find about 3I Atlas. The internet was fracturing with speculation about the comet. Amateur astronomers were posting observations that didn't match NASA's projections, trajectory discrepancies, course corrections, videos showing the comet brightening and dimming in patterns that looked almost rhythmic, almost like signals. On March 4th, 4 days before closest approach, something new happened. Emma started drawing again. Not one map this time. Dozens, covering every surface in the house, sheets of paper taped to walls, spread across the floor, layered on the kitchen table, all of them showing the same thing, Earth, the moon, and between them a path marked with mathematical precision. "She's drawing the closest approach trajectory," Kovich said, studying the papers with growing alarm. But there's something else. Look." He pointed to symbols scattered across the drawings, not numbers, not language, geometric shapes arranged in patterns that hurt to look at, like they existed in more dimensions than the paper could hold. "What are they?" Sarah asked. "I don't know, but Emma's drawing them everywhere, on every map, always in the same positions relative to Earth and the moon." Michael pulled out his phone, opening the astronomical app he'd been obsessing over. He overlaid Emma's latest drawing with real-time satellite positions. His face went white. "These aren't random positions. Each symbol marks the exact location of a major satellite, GPS, communications, defense systems. Emma's marking every single piece of critical space infrastructure humanity has in orbit. Why? Because that's what it's going to look at." The voice came from Emma, but it wasn't her voice. It was older, accented. Yelena's voice. "On March 8th, when it passes closest, it will scan everything you've built in space. It will measure what you've accomplished since last time. And then it will decide if you've earned the next step, or if you need more time alone." "Yelena?" Kovich moved closer. "Are you Yelena Volkov?" "I was, before I understood, before I saw what it wanted me to see." Emma's blind eyes stared at nothing, or at everything. "I tried to warn them in 1983, but they took my papers, took my voice. So I waited. I stayed in the spaces between, and when this one was born," Emma touched her own chest, Born with eyes that don't see the world I knew, she could see what I needed to show. What happened to you in 1983? I saw the truth. The gravitational patterns weren't random. They were questions being asked across space-time. Are you ready? Have you grown? Do you remember? And I answered. I used the observatory's transmitter. I sent a response. Mathematical proof that we had achieved consciousness. That we understood gravity, time, space, that we were ready for contact. Yelena's voice cracked through Emma's mouth. 2 weeks later they came for me. Not your governments. The others. The ones who watch. They showed me the truth. That humanity has been tested before. In 1952, in 1908. In ages so old your species doesn't remember them. Each time you call out. And each time they come to check. And each time you're not ready. Too violent. Too frightened. Too broken. So they make you forget. They reset the clock, and they leave watchers behind encoded in gravity itself, waiting for the next time you reach up. That's insane, Michael whispered. Is it? Your daughter is channeling a dead woman's consciousness through gravitational echoes. 3i Atlas is adjusting its course to examine your satellites. March 8th is 4 days away, and every astronomer on Earth is preparing to observe something they think is just a comet. But you know better. You've seen what she draws. You've heard what she speaks. Sarah grabbed Emma, grabbed Yelena by the shoulders. Get out of my daughter, let her go. She is not trapped. She is chosen, and on March 8th, when they arrive, she will be the bridge. She will show them what humanity has become, and they will decide. Emma collapsed. The voice was gone. She was 7 years old again, small and frightened and crying. Mama, I'm scared. I don't want to be a bridge. I just want to be me. Sarah held her daughter, rocking her, while Michael and Kovic exchanged helpless looks. The phone rang. It was Agent Marsh. Mr. Bennett, you need to listen carefully. NASA has lost contact with 14 satellites in the last hour. GPS, communications, weather, everything. They're coming back online one by one, but their systems have been accessed. We don't know by what. But their cameras have all been redirected. They're all pointing at the same area of space now. Let me guess. The area where 3i Atlas is. How did you know? Because my daughter drew it. 4 days ago. She drew every satellite that just failed, and she told us they were being scanned. Silence on the line. Mr. Bennett, on March 8th, 3i Atlas makes closest approach at 11:47 p.m. Eastern Time. NASA is planning a live observation stream. Every major telescope on Earth will be watching. If something is going to happen, that's when it will happen. And if your daughter knows what it is, we need her to tell us. She's 7, she's blind, and she's terrified. I understand, but if she's connected to this thing, she's not connected to anything. She's being used as a transmitter by a dead woman who's trying to warn us about something we did 42 years ago. Michael's voice cracked. And in 4 days, we're going to find out if humanity passes the test, or if we get reset again. He hung up. March 5th, March 6th, March 7th. The world held its breath. News coverage of 3i Atlas intensified. Amateur videos showed the comet brightening impossibly fast, developing a tail that shimmered with colors that shouldn't exist in space. Scientists issued statements calling it unusual but natural, but their eyes told a different story. Emma stopped speaking entirely. She sat in her room, surrounded by drawings, listening to something no one else could hear. Kovic's monitoring equipment showed her brain activity spiking every 28 hours, the same pattern Yelena had detected in 1983. On March 8th at 3:47 a.m., the time Emma always woke, she walked to the window. Her parents followed. "It's time," Emma said in her own voice. She says it's time to remember. At 11:47 p.m. that night, 3i Atlas would make its closest approach. Humanity would be watching, and something would be watching back. Michael held his daughter's hand as the sun rose on March 8th, 2025. Whatever was coming, they would face it together. Somewhere, 420 million miles away and closing, something ancient adjusted its course one final time. The test was about to begin, and this time, everyone would remember.